Welcome to Government Contracting Weekly, sponsored by AOC Key Solutions Incorporated. Government Contracting Weekly is the only television program devoted exclusively to the competitive and dynamic world of government contracting. A world where coming in second place is not an option, but where principle-centered winning is the only approach.
Good morning, I'm Hilary Fordwich and welcome to this week's edition of Government Contracting Weekly. In today's program, you're going to meet two guests who bring a different angle to contractors and whose work benefits so many others in their unique respective ways. First off, you'll meet Desmond Brown, the Director of Small Business Office of Personal Management. He shares with us his actually rather candid advice from inside the government. Desmond is mighty refreshing with his advice to owners of small businesses regarding how to win new business. After Desmond, we will hear from T.O. Sodermann, the director of the Salute the Military Mid-Atlantic PGA Tour. The tournament at the beginning of June provides an outstanding opportunity for all government contractors in our region to directly assist our brave wounded warriors and their families. Lastly, you'll hear from Richard Nathan and Greg McCarthy, two experts from Key Solutions, who will provide advice on the art of capture. There's a lot of ground to cover this morning, so let's get right to it. This morning, we're delighted to have with us a member of the administration, a government official, Desmond Brown. Good morning.
Good morning.
Desmond is with us from the Office of Personal Management, and he heads up the Small Disadvantaged Business division there. So I'd love you to share with us, with the audience, a little bit about your background. And I was particularly fascinated and glad to hear that you've actually come out of industry. You had your own business. So you understand all the pitfalls. And I think Desmond, one of his roles is he wants everybody else to avoid some of those that he made. And share with our audience what you were telling me earlier.
Well, recently I started working as the OSDBU director for the Office of Personal Management. It started in June of 2012. And prior to that, I was a contracts negotiator for the IRS. And what's so funny about that is that before I even started into the government, I used to, I kind of fancied myself as an entrepreneur. I had a boutique marketing and promotions company in Baltimore. And I remember my last words were, I wish the IRS would come after me. Oh, and then ironically, 10 years later, I'm working for the IRS. So.
Yes, they did. And come after you because there were, you had lots of issues and problems and you weren't making a lot of money and you wanted them to see that?
Well, I think there was money.
Yes.
There was money. But I didn't know how to manage my money at the time. I was young. I had just graduated from undergrad, and I didn't have a mentor, and that probably was the main problem that I had. Mm-hmm. So, and then from there, I decided to refocus, and I got lucky. I started working for Lockheed, and I became the contracts manager there, and I had a number of federal contracts, one for Social Security Administration and NIH and several more. And from there, I kind of just moved back into the government.
So Desmond brings with him experience where he understands really both sides of the aisle. So Desmond's life experiences have given him this background where he really understands what it's like being on the side, probably of a lot of members of the audience, where they're a small business. They may be disadvantaged too, and they haven't had a mentor like you hadn't. How do you work with them, and how do you help them, and where do you really start?
Okay, well, let me first say that the reason why I'm so passionate about this, because I remember being on the outside looking in, and I remember that no one would return my phone calls. And back then, I wasn't really savvy with the internet, so everything I used to do, I would just show up in person. No one would ever see me. And it was a thing that even people who were like my colleagues would not share information that could help better me, or we could partner together. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about what I do now, because I want to be able to share that information with these small businesses that are out here now. Hopefully can learn from some of the mistakes that I've made and learn from some of the mistakes that I've seen that other small businesses have made. So moving forward, I think that they've tried it their way and see where they've gotten. So now I want them to try it my way and see if they can get further.
And when you say my way, describe to the audience some of those characteristics of what your way is from your department.
Well, I think a lot of the mistakes that small businesses make is that they keep focusing on sell, sell, sell. And I think they're very good at technically at what it is they do. But it comes to the point that you need almost like a Hollywood agent to almost maneuver and negotiate through federal contracts or trying to meet people. So what I want them to do is start focusing on building the relationship. Mm-hmm. That's more important because we feel comfortable, or we do business with who we feel comfortable in doing business with.
Who we like, we trust, and we respect.
Absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes if you don't have that rapport or took time to build that relationship, you have a hard time getting in.
And what would you advise a small business that's watching today? What do you say is the #1 way they should get in, and how can they meet with the contracting officer?
Well, I jokingly say that you should shake hands with everyone that you meet, from the security guards to the guys that work in the mailroom to the guys that work on the dock. Anyone can help you get in because we all talk. You know, like for instance, I'll say I may have a problem finding a contractor to work on a certain requirement for me. And I may go to the mailroom and talk with the guys in the mailroom. Somebody will say, you know what, well, somebody came by the other day and here's their card. And more than likely, I probably will call them.
Then you know them, yes.
Right, absolutely. I mean, so it's kind of like that. So you shouldn't pass by anyone that may be able to help you.
And do unto others as they would be done by at any level anyway.
You got it.
Yes. So a small business owner needs to be really a jack of all trades, needs to be able to do absolutely everything probably. But
Yes.
there are a number of things that they should focus on, particularly from your perspective. What do you think are those sort of 3 top skills they should focus on and they should refine?
Well, I think one of the first skills they should focus on is, first of all, having those interpersonal relationship type skills. A lot of companies that come in when they want to see me, and it varies because I meet companies who think they're just too cool to do business with my agency, ones that just have no clue about doing business with my agency, and the ones that are just so standoffish, or they think they know everything, and why are you here? Why are you talking to me?
That arrogance, nobody wants to do it.
And so immediately I'm just kind of turned off by that because I think some of the things that you need to do is prepare yourself before you come in to sit down and speak with us. At least find out what we do.
Yes.
And then find out how can you position yourself to give me what it is that I'm looking for. I mean, I'm going to do business with small businesses that are passionate, that are excited, that have energy. And if you don't have that, why should I be excited or have energy about what it is that you do?
What do they say? They say, I once read the expression that every day you should be fired with passion or you shall be fired with passion.
Absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely.
And what do you say when you say that your department and know more about it? How do you characterize a disadvantaged business?
A disadvantaged business. A disadvantaged business is basically what's defined by the SBA, and there are certain rules and stipulations that are in that definition. So I think the SBA probably would be able to answer that question much more in detail than what I would be. We kind of follow the guidelines that SBA kind of sets for us as far as what is disadvantaged, what is woman-owned small business, and what is hub-zone business, and so forth.
So by the time they come to you, they need to be in one of those categories, though?
Not necessarily.
Oh, they can be in either?
They can be in either. They don't have to be in any category. I'm willing to sit down and speak with any small business that has an interest in wanting to do business with OPM. Or if I can give you information that can help you do business with other federal agencies, I'm there to help you and help kind of guide you in that direction.
That's really good. So I think what's interesting to know are some of the successes you've had, some tangible successes. Could you give us a few examples?
Sure. I think, well, first I want to say that I want to encourage small businesses to go to as many of these small business conferences as possible. I was recently at the Congressional Black Caucus small business initiative that they had back in August, and I usually am not invited to these events. I usually just kind of show up, and on this particular event, the moderator had asked several questions. These are standard questions that they go to that are being asked at all types of small business events. And then, of course, they have people like myself on the panel who actually answer these questions. And it's kind of like the same old jazz. It's just kind of repackaged. The answers are repackaged and just kind of just given back out. So I decided to grab the microphone in this particular case. And
from the audience,
yes,
not on the panelists, yeah.
Yes, and decided to try to clear up some of the myths or understanding that the panel wasn't doing. And at that point, I met a small business, Gabriel Enterprises, and basically she asked for a meeting based upon that particular event, and she said those 3 minutes that I spoke made a huge difference, was more informative than the 2 hours that she had spent at that conference. So,
and that was in terms of how specifically to get a contract through your agency, or how?
Well,
what was that about?
It was a number of things.
Okay.
I think that I spoke about how to position yourself. And this is what it's about, because the federal contracting is a game. It's a hustle. And whoever plays the game the best is the one who's going to win. And so you have to know how to maneuver and how to negotiate through that in order to be successful. And I think a lot of businesses are not savvy enough or don't realize that the game is changing, and they have the same business plan from 20 years ago that they thought was going to work, that they told that was going to work, and it's not working anymore.
But it's new today.
You got it.
Give us one of the highlights of something that's new.
Well, one of the highlights of something that's new is that, first of all, money's drying up, and there aren't as many contracts as possible that used to be available. So what I'd like to see small businesses do is kind of partner together now at this point. I think the pie is big enough for all of us to get a fair slice, but what you want to do is partner with someone who may be a little stronger than you, get in the door, and then work your angle from that side. Build that relationship from once after you get in.
So they've listened to you, they've listened to what their particular agency wants, and then they've built requisite skills by partnering maybe either stronger or different technologies.
You got it.
Something else?
Well, I think that what happens is that usually when we have a requirement, the way I kind of work is that when we have a requirement that may be kind of set aside for small businesses, I usually kind of bring small businesses in to come in and do this capabilities presentation for the program offices. And then the program office can see who is actually qualified to do the job. And at that point, but a number of times some businesses will come in that may not be a good fit for that requirement, but the benefit to that is that they may not have necessarily won that contract or got selected to submit a proposal.
But they've educated somebody in the agency about it for the future.
Right. And the trade-off is that now you have contacts, you have names, and I've seen a lot of cases where you may not have been a good fit for this, but you were picked for another fit that we had coming along the line. So the program officer said, well, you know, Des, I want this contractor because although they didn't do good on this one, I think they're going to be a good fit for this one. So
I think what Desmond's saying is try again, and don't think it's a waste of time. You'll always be remembered another time.
You got it.
Yes. So nowadays, everybody has a website. Every company has a website, but not all of them are going to be beneficial for your business. There are many tips actually that Desmond has and can share with us in terms of the type of website he thinks are good for companies and what you look for.
Absolutely. I think that when I start to perform market research, one of the things that I do, I go on the internet to find out if there's a company that can actually do the job that I'm looking for them to do. And I can't tell you how many websites I come across that are just like, unprofessional. They have these crazy colors and fonts, and there's no style to them, and it's just like, it looks like a 7-year-old has done them. So it's just like, that's the only thing that I have that's in front of me that represents who you are. Now, you may be qualified to do the job, but what your website dictates or says to me is that you can't do it.
So perception is reality.
You got it.
And a picture says 1,000 words or not.
Yeah, so I'm usually moving on to the next one.
Yes.
So what I like for companies to do is actually take a look at some of the big guys are doing. Take a look at what the Lockheeds are doing and the Northrops are doing. And I'm not saying you have to spend your $50,000 on a website, but you have to invest a little bit in order to get something back. The
professionalism.
You got it. So another part that I think small businesses should do is that is to do a blog. And the reason why, if you're as good as you say you are, I think you should tell the world about it. And so you should blog about what it is that you know. And what happens is that when you start blogging, it allows you to put tags under each blog. So therefore, when I'm researching or doing market research on a certain particular subject or requirement that I have, that tag that you put underneath your blog will bring you up closer to my search. So therefore, I don't have to go through 15 pages of it on the internet or Google. I can come to the first couple pages and your website will come up.
So the blogs you're talking about are substantive, content-rich.
You got it.
That will get them, make them look like an expert in a certain subject matter.
You got it.
Okay. Key Solutions is all about the winning of government contracts. And Desmond, I'd love to ask you, when you look at a particular vendor, you've already mentioned, of course, the relationship is very important, establishing that likability, trust, and respect, and we know websites are very important in terms of the professionalism and the substance. What else could you point to say this is a key to winning? Okay,
well, first let me say that I think that this game that we play, government contracting, no one's ever said it was going to be effortless or elementary or easy. You know, it takes a desire and the heart to see this through the end. A lot of the things, small businesses that I like to do business with have a desire or they're driven to make a change or do something different. And those are the ones that I'm willing to take a risk on and actually recommend them for jobs. And those that come in there that have a willingness and an aptitude to want to learn and do better, those are the ones that we kind of push towards our program people, and hopefully, and they have been successful.
So you're saying it's a big attitude issue. You know, how good is their attitude, wanting to serve the government?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people get caught up on past performance, and I want to say that not necessarily so. I think that a lot of companies, small business, may not have the past performance that we're looking for, but if you have demonstrated somehow that maybe in your prior life, before, or
even in the commercial sector,
absolutely. Yes. I mean, you can bring that experience to the table, and we'll review it, and more than likely that will be enough to get you in front of the person that you need to see.
So Desmond is saying a lot of it is attitude. You can be the new kid on the block as long as you have something that is worthy of the government in terms of services, but also that you can really deliver and serve the government.
You got it.
Thank you, Desmond, for coming and joining us this morning. We really appreciate it. Wasn't Desmond's energy and passion for his work just what we all need in our government officials? It's always a blessing to love what you do, as Desmond clearly demonstrates. I say that because you're about to hear now from T.O. Sodermann, who has taken his passion for golf, combined with important causes and the mission of the PGA, to now positively affect the lives of others, including our much respected wounded warriors, as you're about to hear. So there are many golf tournaments in this region, but today we have with us a very special guest who's heading up a really unique opportunity. Tio, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, thank you.
Tio Sodermann is the Mid-Atlantic Director for the Salute the Military Golf Association Web.com tournament that will be here at the end of May, I believe it is.
That's correct.
Memorial Day
May
week.
27th, yes.
And while there's a lot of golf tournaments, a lot of opportunities to golf, for government contractors, it's a very sensitive milieu. Ever since the sort of the economic fallout of 2008, dollars are tight, we're in an era of austerity. This tournament is very unique, and I think government contractors are given a special opportunity. Would you like to expand on that for our audience?
Absolutely. Our golf tournament is a PGA Tour event. It's called the Mid-Atlantic Championship, and it supports the Salute Military Golf Association. So all net proceeds go to the Salute Military Golf Association through the tournament.
And it's very different because in this region we don't have many PGA events.
We do not.
So this is going to be special. And you've got coverage from the Golf Channel as well, I believe.
We do. We
yeah?
will be covered on the Golf Channel in 188 countries around the world. So our golf tournament is one of two in our region now. We used to have all four represented here in our region, but unfortunately we're one of two now.
So this is going to be a very special event this year. So a PGA event is very special because there are many branding opportunities. And Tio, you mentioned that this is going to be in 188 countries. Talk about maybe for government contractors that may be watching or looking for an opportunity to brand their organization, what sort of opportunities you're offering?
Well, we have all different types of opportunities. From the very top is the title of our event. The title of our event could be a branding opportunity for someone that is looking to get worldwide exposure through the Golf Channel coverage, down to regional type activities. Throughout tournament week we have lots of brandable activities, including a pro warrior on Monday, which gives the opportunity for us to put a warrior with a professional on the tournament golf course a couple of days before the tournament begins.
For a pro-am?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and that's for serious golfers who really want an opportunity to be there for that company and to show the military that they really care.
Not only to experience what life is kind of like on the PGA Tour, but also to give a warrior that opportunity would be a great thing.
Yes, and it shows the dedication. You have a lot of veterans that are involved with this, with Salute the Military?
Right. Salute Military has done a great job getting the veterans out of the hospitals, out of homes, and teaching them the game of golf. They're warriors, so they're very serious, and they take this very seriously, and we give that opportunity for them to compete against each other in that pro warrior event that will happen on Monday. So
and actually the tour actually is going to get the veterans out of NIH and bring them over to the tournament, which I think is phenomenal. That's such a cheering opportunity.
You know, last year we did a great thing. We took a lot of tour players over to Walter Reed for a hospital visit. And when I asked the warriors, how can we improve upon the situation, they said, let us come to the tournament. So, you know, it's a great perspective. You know, maybe I thought it was easier for us to take the tour players to them, but they want to come out of the hospital and they want to come to the tournament and participate in clinics and different things with the touring professionals.
Which is fabulous, and that's so rehabilitative.
Yes.
Yes.
And we'll have the opportunity to do that this year.
Great. For government contractors, while there are many opportunities to golf, there aren't many opportunities that are with the PGA and are also with such great name players. I know Lee Janzen is coming. Would you like to share who else is joining us this year?
Sure. Lee Janzen, Len Matisse, Skip Kendall, Jason Gore. There's a lot of recognizable names that will be playing in our tournament, but then there will also be a lot of names like a Keegan Bradley, Gary Woodland, Jonathan Vegas that have played in our event that you didn't know who they were when they played in our event. But
now we do.
But yes, you sure do now, that's right. So there are a lot of players that are on the cusp of becoming the big-time name.
And there's also a lot of big players that used to play on this tour prior to being on the major PGA Tour, like Ernie Els, Vijay Singh were on this. Were there other name players that you can mention that come through the ranks so that if you want to get an opportunity to look for the players of the future, this is the place to be? Absolutely.
Ernie Els, Keegan Bradley. 80% of the players playing on the PGA Tour have come now through the Web.com tour. And 50% of our players have been to the PGA Tour. So we really have transitioned into a PGA Tour extension as opposed to a developmental tour, which was the idea 24 years ago when it got started. But the talent level is so great, and there's so many players at this level, this is the PGA Tour's way of expanding. And also the PGA Tour's way now of being connected with the military, connected to government contractors.
I believe that the golf industry gives back more than any other sport. And
that's correct. There's a lot of people that probably wouldn't know that the PGA Tour gives more money to charity than all other professional sports leagues combined.
And now we're giving to the military, and for the government contractors a great opportunity.
In the last 30 years, about $1.8 billion has been given to charity. Our event on the web.com tour is one of 25 located throughout the world, and we're fortunate to have one here in our market.
So while there are many golf tournaments that a government contractor could attend, this is perfectly suited given that it's with the PGA, all the exposure, all the branding, but you also, in addition to all that, Tio, you have opportunities for government contractors to entertain their partners, their potential partners, their subcontractors, customers. Expand a little bit about some of those opportunities.
Yes, we have many opportunities at all levels for corporate hospitality, pro-am participation, branding. We also have an opening ceremony that will be a bunch of military activities, paratroopers and national anthem being sung, and a lot of the things as that pro warrior starts out, or one of our pro-ams, is going to be a very impactful situation for the opening ceremony.
And I think for all the government contractors, a lot of them professionals are former military members, and they love to see paratroopers. They love to have the military involved, and it gives it the right kind of feel for a government contractor.
Absolutely, we all love that, for sure.
Well, Tio, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course, the capture process is the major way that all government contractors retain contracts. So learning about all the tremendous insights, the opportunities, and really the best practices is a great learning opportunity for all contractors. So I'm delighted to have with me this morning both Greg McCarthy and Richard Nathan from Key Solutions. Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Hillary.
And our audience, I'm sure, wants to know, what is it that you're seeing, Richard, in terms of the very best practices, some shining examples of an excellent capture process?
Well, we certainly see some of those shining examples, as you put it. We also see the other end where companies aren't really prepared properly for capture. But the best ones are when they start early.
Mm-hmm. How far in advance, optimally? I mean, is there a range?
I've seen some as early as 3 years before an RFP for the big must-win opportunities. In fact, we were called in recently for a very big job with our long-standing client, and I personally was the capture manager. Started 3 years ago, sort of phased in the capture over the first year, and then really hit the ground running in year 2, and the proposal's actually under consideration right now. But they were an incumbent, and they did everything right. They did not have what we call incumbentitis. They assumed that they were in for a hard fight. Mm-hmm. There were several other companies, very good companies, trying to knock them.
In the mix?
Yeah, in the mix, trying to knock them out. And one of the things I liked about this company is that they had a mentality, not of arrogance, but of continuous improvement.
So what did they do that was really right? You said they kept doing everything right. What was that? Continuous improvement?
Continuous improvement, assume that everything they're doing is wrong, and how could we be doing it better.
Improvement.
We led them through a process that we like to use, in which the first thing we do is develop a notional winner profile. The notional winner profile is the description of the perfect offerer from the government's perspective.
So optimal and not necessarily we're it, but what would it be in the perfect situation?
Precisely, and that's an important realization that companies have to have.
And then they sort of live up to it and do everything they can to step up.
Exactly, exactly. So we do a self-assessment against that, look for deficiencies, and then during the capture process, move to correct those deficiencies.
Excellent. So Richard just gave us a really good perspective in terms of having that duration of time, planning in advance, and gave us some good insights in terms of the optimal look at a contract. What would you say would be, if you looked at it, Greg, the one thing a capture manager should actually do to win a contract?
What Richard said was optimal. Starting early is absolutely critical. And then every week we talk on the show about customer intimacy. Mm-hmm. So you got, as a capture manager, you got to get to know the customer if you're going to bid that job. They've got to know you, they've got to know your capabilities. You also need to be creative. So, you've got to take all the preconceived notions and remove them and start from scratch. Not thinking that this is what the government wants, this is what they know, this is what they like. No preconceived notions, and then start your capture plan that way. But the single most important thing, Hillary, I think, is as a capture manager, find something that's important to the government and take a stand on it. And make sure that it's something that you're committed to, and that you're going to drive this through the capture process into the proposal, and that you're going to make sure that it's something that you're committed to, your company's committed to, because most often we see capture efforts go on and it's more the same old, same old.
Yes.
So my one thing would be, take a stand.
And you take a stand with obviously something that's very unique to your company, where you can back it up with a track record. And you also work with firms in terms of all the ways that you can back up that one message they go with, though, too, and other keys to winning with regard to that.
That's right. And what you just said and what Greg said really point to the crux of the problem that companies are facing right now when the federal market funding is switching. And it's moving from a strength in Homeland Security, Defense, and intelligence over to the civil agencies.
Yes.
It's not a total switch, but it's a change in
migration over there.
Migration, a change in emphasis. And that customer intimacy, the knowledge of what the customer wants and needs and their biases, companies don't always have the capture staff with that information on as the markets shift. So that puts them in a dilemma. What some companies will do, and it'll be a serious mistake, is to take, let's say, a DoD experienced capture manager and move them over to NASA or Health and Human Services. So what the right companies are doing is they're going out and recruiting experienced capture managers in the civil side, or they're forming partnerships, teaming, some kind of LLC arrangements, whatever, in order to acquire the civil expertise from other companies.
And what about coming out of government now? Have there been a lot of experts that are leaving and defecting from the government that companies are picking up?
What the government's facing in terms of funding, salaries, furloughs, etc., there are some of the more senior people who can afford to retire are doing so.
Great.
And companies will pick some of them up in order to achieve the client intimacy that they need to successfully run a capture and proposal activity.
So customer intimacy, make sure you're asking it, and you know exactly what the government wants. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed today's program, and most importantly, that it provided you with two beneficial new angles of contracting. If you're a small business and need assistance in gaining a foothold in the dynamic area of government contracting, I would strongly encourage you to reach out to Desmond Brown and the Small Business Office of Personal Management, as he did likewise. If you're a contractor and want to find a new way to give back to our veterans, then you'll want to learn more about T.O. Sodermann's launch of the Salute the Military PGA Tour. And if you want to learn more about the art of capture, feel free to reach out to Key Solutions. And whatever you do, please make a point to join us next Sunday right here at Government Contracting Weekly.
You've been watching Government Contracting Weekly, sponsored each week by AOC Key Solutions Incorporated. Government Contracting Weekly is the only television program devoted exclusively to the competitive and dynamic world of government contracting. For additional information, comments, questions, or suggestions, please write us at governmentcontractingweekly.com.